Go episode 143 of Seddy Bimco, America's foremost revenge-themed podcast where we craft revenge sequels to movies that never had them. We're in the middle of a tour of the 50 nifty United States. This week, we are witnessing a movie from Nebraska.
I picked it.
You did, Tim. What was the movie called? I'm going to let you say the name because this is your fault.
Even Hitler Had a Girlfriend.
Yes.
From 1992, yes. Nebraska. Before we get into it, so much to talk about. I have an age-old question about revenge.
Oh, I bet it's going to be Hitlerific.
You going to give this one 5 stars, you think?
No, I never will give you anything to do 5 stars.
So we remember Orville and Wilbur Wright.
Yeah.
Everyone knows who they are. I don't have to explain, right?
I think you do.
It's not obscure.
No, Slow Joe in the back row over there has no idea. You need to explain who it is.
They patented a form of stabilizing an aircraft in the air, actually. They didn't trademark airplane. It's just their system.
I don't think they patented it. I think you actually managed to find the wrong word. They invented it. Yeah.
And they invented
it. No. Yeah, I don't think they patented
it. Okay. Patent.
Stop saying words that don't mean
patent. He's a general. World War II. Yeah. Anyway, Orville. Did Orville Wright ever get revenge on Wilbur Wright for demanding that the in-flight magazine on their Wright Flyer be Aircraft Disasters Monthly?
It's Seddy Bimco Part 2, The Revenge. The show where we create revenge sequels that nobody wanted.
It's Seddy Bimco Part 2, The Revenge. And you already heard what the show's all about, and we're here.
Yep, I did it. Tim, I want to make I know I've been writing you hard about like your age-old questions.
Yeah.
I have noticed a theme, and I just want to pose this to you.
History.
These scenarios you concoct, I feel like often the slights they're seeking revenge for are not worthy seeking revenge.
Come on. Really? You think so?
I think it was like, did Orville ever get revenge on Wilbur for stealing his wife or burning his house down? These are things.
Did he do that?
Things to get.
Did he do these things?
Yeah, of course. Everybody knows that.
You're making that up.
Yeah, right before he patented airplanes, he stole Wilbur's wife, set fire to their house, and ate his prize pig, who had just gotten first prize in the Indiana State Fair. He was a real monster.
How could he eat pork all the time and still be light enough to fly?
Well, have you ever seen the early Wright brothers flights? They didn't. Yeah, and actually, everybody knows it was Orville who flied. Wilbur stayed on the ground and clapped, slamming his ham hocks together sloppily as he oinked.
He was on the phone.
Also not invented yet, but yeah, he was a futurist.
He was a futurist. He just had a phone. That's okay. He put it up to his ear, and people wouldn't bother him because he was talking to somebody.
He just would have talked to a brick all day, and they're like, "What's with that guy?" You know, they say he's a Wright brother, but that just seems wrong.
Right? It does. It does seem wrong.
And then he found himself left alone. The Wright brother who was left alone, right and left. Yep. Get it, Tim?
I get it. That's good.
This is good stuff.
You're doing
Why
good.
aren't you laughing? All right. All right. So before we get to the movie, as we said up front, we're in the middle of a tour of the 50 nifty United States. You chose this one. This is a film representing Nebraska. I got to say, Tim, I'll just give you spoilers. I think you nailed the Nebraska experience with this one.
You think so?
In a way, yeah. This movie, I have feelings about. We'll talk about these feelings.
Me too.
Yeah.
But first,
TV podcasts talk at you, not with you. Not the case for the podcast Taking It Down. With sharp, honed Southern insight, the unique 3 hosts scrutinize TV and streaming without Hollywood bluster or inside jokes. Every Tuesday morning, spoiler-free thoughts begin the episode, which can guide your decision on if a show or film is worth your evening. From there, Taking It Down shifts into analysis for those who love the details or are too busy for endless think pieces online. Taking It Down understands that being both busy and hardworking doesn't equate with being unthinking or unimaginative. From the Alabama Take Family podcast, find Taking It Down on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you like to hear your podcasts.
Welcome back to the show. Nebraska Facts.
Nebraska Facts.
How many
Nebraska
people?
Fasca. Only slightly less than 2 million, less than the borough of Brooklyn. So, boo. Because, we've learned this. I want to say that. I have to say this, in our tour of the 50 nifty, if you discover there is a state that has less people than live in New York City, and yet we'll take an inordinate amount of federal tax money. You know that they're going to be super Republican. Hi, Nebraska. It's a weird trend. I don't know why.
Do they take $2 for every dollar?
It's about that. Yeah, it wasn't quite as bad as that was Mississippi, but it's along the. It's a very unequal distribution of federal funds. So Nebraska joined the Union in March 1st, 1867. It was the 37th state. It was they call it now the Cornhusker state, but it used to be called the Cornholer state. Because they would fuck cornhole.
No, that's a game. Cornhole is a game.
It is, I know, but like it's also like shut your cornhole because that means your butthole. So let's see. Its capital is. You want to guess?
The capital of Nebraska is. I used to know it. I don't know.
It's Lincoln. It's Lincoln, Nebraska. Once again, continuing the trend of the biggest city, Omaha in this instance, which is actually kind of a nice place. I've been there.
It's big and flat, right?
Oh, yeah, it's very flat. All right, so here, this is real. I had to record this because this isn't even a joke.
You had to record
Nebraska state slogans have included, they're not these ones anymore, where the West begins, which that's pretty cool. And honestly, it's not for everyone. They actually had their state slogan. How amazing is that? Even amazing. If you don't like Nebraska, you got to kind of like Nebraska after that.
No, that's an insulting. It's not for everyone. I think it's saying don't come here.
Oh, but it's also like kind of admitting it's not like they're like, I mean, they're looking at you when they say it, Tim. Like, hey, buddy, don't come here with your art and your stuff. So, Tim, the processed meat Spam is made in Nebraska.
Nice.
Yeah, that's interesting. Carhenge. Have you ever heard of Carhenge?
I have heard of Carhenge.
Yeah, that is in Nebraska. Carhenge, if you don't know it, folks, is some group of people took a bunch of cars, spray painted them green, and stacked them up in imitation of Stonehenge.
We don't know who they are.
We'll never know who these people are. Probably druids.
How did they drag the cars there to get them upright?
How would they do that? It's amazing. Yeah. You could watch the summer solstice from there. You could also probably pick up a disease. The largest ball of stamps in the world is in Boys Town, Omaha. Yeah. But let's think about that.
Wait, Boys Town, Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah. Yes.
Is that the town
Boys Town is a place there. Did you ever see that movie? It's an old movie. You probably saw it when it first came out.
I almost picked it.
It's like with Spencer Tracy.
I almost picked it.
Wait, did you really?
Yes.
That's a good movie, though. It's a good movie, and our jokes would have tended towards cancelable. Yeah.
Can't be a good movie.
Yeah.
Mickey Rooney.
I remember watching it.
In charge of a bunch of boys?
No, it's not Mickey Rooney. It's Spencer Tracy.
Oh, I'm thinking of a different movie then. I thought.
Maybe they're both in. Folks, if you know who's in Boys Town, write to us. But I actually want to see this. You know what, Tim? We're both right. It is. It's Mickey Rooney and Spencer Tracy.
Yes. Oh.
But you know what? Spencer Tracy gets top billing. In the face. All right. So anyway, the world's biggest ball of stamps is there. Now let's think. What the fuck is a ball of stamps? You could take 6 stamps and arguably have the biggest ball of stamps because I don't think making balls of stamps is a thing.
Let me guess. Is it 10 feet?
I didn't look, Tim. Let's say.
Oh God! Everybody at home.
Why would
wondering,
I look?
How big is that ball of stamps?
My whole joke was that balls of stamps aren't a thing. It's like saying balls of bottle caps. That's not really. It's not like a thing. So you could just. Not a thing. I could make the biggest ball of bottle caps in my room right now because nobody's ever declared that. All right, moving on. The Kool-Aid was invented in Nebraska.
Okay, we're going to leave that mystery.
Yep.
Kool-Aid
the first
is invented.
Elevator, yes, was invented there. I don't think it's manufactured there anymore. It's manufactured in Guyana. That's where Jim Jones was, right?
Yeah. Yeah, got it.
It was played right. I know. Gotcha, Tim. Gotcha. All right. The first elevator in Nebraska was in a town called Archer in 1889. It was one of those grain elevators we keep hearing about.
Oh.
The first streetcar in Nebraska was in Omaha in 1868. That was the horse-drawn one. The electric one came in the 1880s. And the official Nebraska cryptid is the Walgren or alkali lake monster, which is described as a long-necked, bearded alligator.
Interesting.
Yep. That's
I like that one.
That's all I got.
Did you draw it?
No, but boy, let me tell you, there sure is a lot of AI art of it when you type in those names. A lot of garbage.
I want to see the old art.
Yeah, I know. I have noticed. I'm going to do my old man rant. I have noticed how useless Google searches become the last few months. As a person, we didn't say this. By the way, I'm George O'Connor, professional comics illustrator. Tim Hamilton, professional comics illustrator. Tim and I draw for a living. We're both New York Times bestsellers. I sometimes need reference for when I'm drawing something. I'm like, what did this look like? What did an ancient Viking hovel look like? It's very hard to find actual stuff now because now they just do fucking AI prompts that give me garbage when it's like, oh, I didn't know a Viking hovel had 6 fingers on it. Blah. All right. That's all I got for Nebraska. You got any facts?
But like last week, they were lazy. The flag is a train and a house and a riverboat and a man with an anvil. And the seal is the same thing, only different colors. And the man has a beard. And he's clean shaven in the other flag. So conspiracy there.
You think they're pro or anti-beard?
I don't know. Why is he clean shaven? And then the other one.
Why does he have an anvil? Why isn't corn being husked?
He's making a hammer.
Making a hammer. Do you
or
think
a sieve.
A scythe?
A scythe and a sieve.
That's a scythe or scythe. Let's all pronounce that word differently.
That's it. They're lazy again. But there's a beard discrepancy.
I mean, it could just be a before and after. I bet you it takes a while to make a scythe. So maybe he was clean shaven at the beginning and bearded at the end. Or perhaps, Tim, maybe upon finishing his corn husking scythe, he decided to test it out on his beard and shaved himself clean.
That's why in the other flag, he has no nose. See, sliced it right off. It all comes together.
It all comes together. And then he asks himself, how does it smell? He goes, I don't know. I have no nose.
I have no nose.
We've used that joke. Should we talk about this movie?
I don't have a dime left. They repossessed my car yesterday. I've got to move out by the 31st.
So even Hitler had a girlfriend.
Yep.
I just want to say, we're going to have some laughs about this movie, but I do want to say I read about the filmmaker who's now dead. He was a musician, a video artist, and I have to say about this movie, I think it's more like video art that he made, and I feel a little bad laughing at it because I'm like, it reminds me of John Waters or... Well, we're going to talk about that, but I feel like I didn't know it was going to be like that, even though we're going to laugh a bit about it. But I think he's making art, whether you like it or not. It's not really a movie.
I think Tim learned a lesson here. Like, I know Tim was sorely disappointed. Spoilers, folks. If you turn into a movie called Even Hitler Had a Girlfriend, and you expect a lot of Hitler jokes, you ain't getting a single one in this movie. And I know Tim was sorely disappointed. Was there? I don't remember there being one.
No, I'm not disappointed.
I was talking to my wife earlier. She's like, how is because this, all right, behind the scene, Tim sent me multiple texts about this movie being like, whoa, buddy, like you better take something for this one. Like just warning me. I'm like, wow, like what's going to, like Tim was shook to his core by this movie, I think. But it is kind of, I actually feel like it's a weirdly pretty good movie.
Yeah.
And it feels incredibly authentic in a weird way. Like, the stuff we're going to talk about, like I feel like there are definitely 100% people experiencing this guy's life.
Sadly, yes.
Yeah.
So let me give there's a
lot of sadness about this. The film director did die. He lived a pretty full life. Unfortunately, the man who plays the main character,
Marcus,
Marcus Templeton. Yeah, his name is his real name is, I think I left it open here. His real name is Scott A. Marcus, but he had a different acting name. The actor was murdered, like in real life. He worked at a 7-Eleven and was held up and was killed, shot. And if you go to this was years after this movie, but if you go to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, it's still an open case in the cold case files. You can read about it. It's like very sad because I'm like, I did a little bit of a deep dive on this guy.
So I also feel bad that he's dead, but. Yeah, we're just enjoying the movie. I'm actually say too, I'm not really making fun. When I make fun of this movie, I'm going to be more making fun of the character and less the quality of the film. Because I do feel like I said, this movie felt like oddly good. I'll just leave it at that. Okay. The director's name is Ronnie Kramer. Yeah.
Yep. 1991, Rodney Kramer.
He actually made a documentary, by the way, called Highway Amazon in 2001. Yeah. Did you read this? About a woman.
Won a bunch of awards, yeah.
It's a female bodybuilder who travels to the country wrestling men in hotel rooms, which
for money.
I believe that's a fetish.
There's one woman in this movie who I suspect is the woman from that movie. I didn't bother checking, but I
checked and her name's not there unless she changed it, because I thought so too. Okay. I thought it would be her.
Yeah.
So I want to see that movie too.
He also made his last film, which was in 2020. He did an animated short, and it's called The Chair. It's about a woman and her magical chair. And actually, we'll see. We'll talk about it when it comes up. But an actual, real interesting filmmaker, interesting actors. Like I said, this movie was not what I expected. I know it wasn't what Tim expected. Tim was expecting just like, I don't know, what was that, F Troop? You were hoping. You were like,
I was hoping.
Oh, come on. Yeah, but no, it's nothing like that. So
I was hoping Hitler to have a wacky neighbor.
Yeah.
Newman comes over. Anyway.
All right, so it opens up on this guy, Marcus Templeton. Can we describe him?
He's hard to describe because he's so bland, but he's got a little mustache.
Yeah, he's got a, is he balding? He's just a real schlubby sort of guy. And he's just, this was amazing. The whole time I kept watching something, like, why do I feel like I'm watching a Mystery Science Theater movie? Mm-hmm. If you were a Mystery Science Theater fan, no, this guy sounds just like Joel Hodgson.
You thought so? Oh, yeah. He's always
his voice
doing his act.
Yep. And I was like, oh my God, that's why. I kept expecting it. I expected little robots to be cracking jokes about the screen because the main actor sounds like Joel, the original host of MMST3K.
This tastes like a salty pile of grease. No wonder I have health problems. What I need is a real meal.
You know what this movie reminds me of more than anything else, Tim? This is like if Clerks was filthy.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It gave me strong Clerks vibes, the Kevin Smith movie, but like this movie has... Tim has a proclivity, as we know, for choosing nudie cuties. He doesn't mean to, but somehow he does.
I don't
This
mean
is
to.
the nudist, cutest movie we've ever done. There's so much nudity.
Producer Miss Lee, she's always pointing these out to me.
As always, wow, you just threw your wife under the bridge. I hope she listens and she's like, all right. So it opens this guy and he's just like standing there and like kind of talking. He goes, how did I spend my life savings in 2 weeks? Oh no, we see a bunch of nude women. He goes, how I spent my life savings in 2 weeks. And then he closes up his face. He goes, and I'd do it again.
What are you saying? I got to move out tomorrow. I lost my money.
Yeah. They're taking my car at 9 a.m. I got to be out of my house at the end of the month, and I do it all again. And then they just show a weird montage of like so many pics of naked ladies while a rad guitar solo plays. And I'm already like, this is not at all what I expected from this movie.
No. It also says 99% of this movie is true. I hope you noticed that.
Yeah, I wrote that down. That was pretty weird, right?
So we start right out with Fabio. You want to start there? Third rate Fabio?
Man, I think he's not even third rate. He's like, he was upsetting looking.
He was.
So like, we're looking at this guy with like, it's hard to tell in old movies. 91, people were still kind of not, they looked old, but he looks like he's old, tan leather, but he's very muscular.
Yep.
And he's just going to town on this lady's boobs.
For us to see too. He's behind her, kind of juggling them.
Yeah, just like go woo 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 woo, which is And I'm like, wow, again, this is not quite expected. And then we pull out a little bit and we see our main character,
Marcus,
just poking. She's staring at him in the window.
Yeah. Yep. He
like
ran up there.
Watching this guy, like this big naked guy rubbing his big naked girlfriend. And then then they see him and they run away and he chases in the neighborhood and the big muscular guy runs out in his white little shorts and chases him. And Tim, I'm going to interrupt right now.
Sure.
It's not a list.
Oh.
This is a startling true story that happened to me 2 days ago.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Were you peeking in windows again, George?
Not intentionally, Tim. So Tim and I live in Brooklyn, so high population density. More people live in our borough than live in the entire state of Nebraska where this movie was filmed.
Woohoo.
And I'm just walking down my street, And like there's like this little taco place that I always walk by, and I always looking at people. But right before that, there's a couple windows. Some people live next door to it, and they face right on this major boulevard. And as I'm walking by looking, this woman just walks right out completely topless right into her room, and I saw everything. And then it made me think of this movie. Yep. And we made eye contact, and I was like, whoop, and I felt like really bad. I'm like, wait, like, why did that happen? Why was she had no curtains, lights on, completely topless.
That has happened to me right here, a ground floor apartment. I just was walking by and I happened to look over and some guy was just like pulling his pants down. I saw his butt. He unintentionally mooned me. Like no curtains there, no nothing. Or intentionally, but so.
Hey, you want to know what an average naked woman looked like in Nebraska in the early 90s? Now you know.
Now you think you know. But they all seem to be muscle ladies, I thought. He found them all in one place, don't you think? They're all kind of...
I noticed the one was a particular muscle lady. I didn't notice they were all muscle ladies.
Maybe not all.
But I'm betting this guy, because I did write down on a comment somewhere, I'm like, I feel like this guy made this movie just so he could have excuse to film lots of nude women.
I was thinking that too, but I don't know.
Yeah.
You think so?
Did you catch... Yeah, I'll once it starts, yes. The music for this, did you see the name of the person who did the music for this?
Oh, I didn't.
Alarming Trends.
Do you know them?
No, it's just, I thought it was a good name, and the music was alarming at many points. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so we go back to Marcus. He is run back home. We see him putting on a outfit, which I'm like, it looks like a police officer, but you already know there's no way this guy's a police officer. He's like a rent-a-cop or he's a security guard.
He is.
And the movie starts a voiceover, which continues for the whole movie, and he's just talking about how unhealthy he is. I wrote down some lines. He's like, I know. My heart is bound to explode if I keep eating like this. I hope I'm asleep when it happens. His dialogue sounds like what Charlie Brown would sound like if he grew up.
And he just says, I'm just eating something that tastes like a salty pile of grease. That's all I ever eat. And he does have he has a frozen dinner, which is a little better than a pile of grease with salt on it. I don't know how much better.
Is it? I don't. Well, I mean, they're a recurring theme. I recorded it here, but we will see this so many times. The next scene, because this movie is very... When Tim said like the idea of this is like an art film almost, it makes sense. Like there's not really a narrative per se. We're following the saga of this man's degeneration into sadness and loneliness.
And I want to point out, it's a very surreal world because it's him and that third-rate Fabio and some women. No one else is ever around.
Well, his dad kind of.
Well, yeah, but on his job, he's like, "Why do I guard this parking lot? My car's the only one here." It's like, and no one else is in this world.
Yeah, he has an existentially bleak. His life is very sad. Yeah. We see him sitting on a couch and only wearing tighty-whities and socks. He's eating Slim Jims and watching Cable X, which is like a pay-per-view porn thing.
Yeah, Skinamax.
And this is
whatever.
He watches a lady does a striptease to like rad guitar. And like at first we're seeing it like we're watching the TV with him, but then it gets full color and it's just like the filmmaker is like, this is why I made this.
Right.
And while he's watching this, he gets like a weird Jesus sort of flyer stuck under the door.
That's right.
Yep. And then
he's in the tub the first time because he's in the tub a lot.
All the time. If you want to see this man shirtless laying in a tub, I have good news for you. He says something that I don't understand. He says, too bad staring at it won't make it rain.
I know. He says a couple of things. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Now watching, like this movie got pretty far into this movie till I realized he couldn't get boners.
Me too, because I was like, why are you not jerking off?
Yeah.
Not that
I thought they just weren't showing us, but yeah. But I think that's what he's saying here.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was, and I didn't get it, but it's like, I wrote it down, like, I'm like, oh. But then we hear his neighbor upstairs, like flushing. Going, oh, and then peeing and then flushing. I'm like, what is going on?
That's sex, George. You don't know that? That's the sound. That's groaning.
Wait, oh, God.
Peeing and flushing the toilet. Was that the 3 steps you said?
Yeah, I think that's how sex works, right? That's how babies come. This is a line from him. The only people I come in contact with is the dispatcher at work, who I never see,
right,
and the guy upstairs, who I never see.
It's true. His world.
Like, what? This guy's world is bleak. And then he's like, maybe if I call a woman and go on a date. And he picks up the phone, calls a woman, and we see this woman like painting her toenails. And it turns out he had gone on a date with her a few weeks ago. She's like, "Who are you again?" He's like, "Marcus." She's like, "The dark-haired guy?" He's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I was hoping maybe we could go out again." And she just blows him off brutally. She's like,
"You're putting too much excitement in his voice, though." He's like, "I thought maybe we could go out again."
Yeah, he really does sound like it's like MST3K sleepy Joel Hodgson voice.
Right.
And at this point, I'm like, man, this guy's depressed.
Then he wants to pull his heart out and massage it because he thinks.
Yep, because he's having heart pains. He's so unhealthy. And like the thing is, like because unfortunately, as we know, the actor died young. This guy isn't like he's got like a bit of a dad bod, I guess they would call it. Like he's not like in good shape. He's not like I would call him morbidly obese.
He's like the Amazing Colossal Man. Picture him with hair on his body.
Oh my God, you're right. He's just, Tim, I think he's just a standard American body. Yes. I think that's, they always say like Midwestern people have like a good stocky build. Like this is, they have to get through those tough winters.
Well, they do. Oh, this is my favorite part. He's an artist. Did you see this? He's drawn so many.
This is the part I want to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. All the naked, just piles of naked ladies. His pens are wearing out, filling in all that pubic hair. It's
just, so there's just shots of him like it's a side view of him looking up the heavens with a beatific look on his face as he just draws page after page of nude women with very thick ankles and very thick arms. But this is the part I want to talk to you about. First, I wrote, Tim, in all caps, I wrote, Tim, what is this movie? I'm like, what? But when I went and looked up this guy, the filmmaker, Jim Kramer, not Jim Kramer,
that's the
Ronnie Kramer. When I looked up the movie he did in 2020, it's animated. He animated himself. All the drawings look like this. This is the director himself drawing these pictures.
Gotcha.
So you get to see about like 90 naked drawings that this guy does.
He's tracing She-Hulk comics, George. Just leaves the clothes off.
Exactly.
And he kept going to the convenience store. He kept going to the convenience store because he wore out so many pens with pubic hairs. And the lady's like, are you buying these pens to draw more pubic hairs? And he's like, no, just underarm hair and some stubble.
And then he's saying like, and he's looking at an old photo of himself. He's like, look, like 10 years ago, I was so much better looking. And like Robert Redford's way older than me and he's better looking. And then he's staying in the chub looking at his chin and he goes, my chin is being swallowed up by the abyss known as my neck. And I'm like, stop, write that down. That's great. All right, and then jumping around, he's at work, and they show a close-up of a turd for no reason whatsoever. And
I
then
didn't see that. A turd? Oh, man. I did not see that.
It's just like there's just a fucking wad of dog shit for a second. And then he's standing above this like sunbathing women, and he's going
by a pool. Just out of nowhere, he walks by a pool where a lady is.
Oh, you know what? And I realized he's not actually at work. He just got back from work. That's like his apartment complex or something. And so he's trying to make contact with her. She's wearing this bathing suit, very low cut. And he's like, well, I'm a writer. And she goes, what do you write about? Killing young girls and hiding their bodies in your apartment? He's like, what do you mean? She goes, well, you look like a serial killer. And then they cut to him. They cut to him in his underpants watching a newscast about a guy called the Side Street Slasher. And not knowing this movie at this point, I thought this was him.
Me too. I was thinking that. Yeah.
I thought this would be, I'm like, oh, it's a serial killer movie. Okay, we've seen this sort of thing before here. Mm-hmm. But he's just like, great. I really do look like a serial killer. I'm like, Charlie fucking Brown.
Didn't they show a picture? And it was Marcus?
Well, they do. They show, and he's going, only my dog Snoopy understands me. Good grief. No, but like they show a picture of like the drawing of this killer. It looks just like him, but he is not the killer. That's not this movie. Then for some reason they just have a montage of naked boobs and butts.
And for me, he's watching a movie about a evil brain.
Oh, can I just mention this part?
Yeah,
that part is. There's a few more things. Like they show him at his job where he has to turn the key at a certain time, and he's like, I don't know if this means anything, but I guess it's better than my last job. Changing aromatic urinal cakes.
Yes, I remember that. So that is he watching the movie? So we go back to
him watching TV, and there's a woman showering on TV.
And this is what
we hear a voice go, Angela. And I thought it was Tony Danza.
Yeah. This made me think of David Lynch. This whole, like, the movie is about a woman. Can you describe
this weird movie within a movie?
Yeah, this woman, she opens a cupboard and there's a brain in a water tank and it's telepathically talking to her and she learns she can telepathically talk to it. And then they lay down on the bed, and she has the tank on top of her. She's rubbing the tank, and she's going, ooh, oh.
Can I share 2 pieces of dialogue that happen?
Yes, I forget them.
So she discovers she can speak telepathically with the brain, and she goes, well, if we're talking in our brains, I'm going to get dressed. And they cut to Marcus on the couch being, why does she have to get dressed? It's just a brain. And then when she is rubbing the brain, which she's not rubbing the brain itself, she's rubbing the outside of the container going, oh. He goes, once again, they cut to Marcus on the couch going, can't believe this brain has a girlfriend and I'm sitting here by myself.
Yes.
And then the TV turns to his dad, who we've not met before.
Yep.
An old guy who yells at him, says, why do you have the TV turned sideways? I guess he had turned sideways so you could see the woman standing upright.
I think that was a joke.
I didn't get that part. Yeah. And he's like saying, like, look at you. You're just, his dad's berating him. His dad speaks to him like in his head.
Yes.
And then he hears the neighbor moan upstairs again. Ooh. And then Marcus goes, you think you have troubles? I just saw my dad in the middle of a brain movie.
Yes.
Like, what is this film? I think this is about when I stood up and I'm like, it was, I think I stood up to see how long this movie had been on. It was like 20 minutes.
Yes.
I'm like, good Lord.
But I wasn't bored. I was in a meditative state in this movie.
It is, and his voice is calm, so you do kind of get lured. It's very weird. And I was thinking about this, like, I don't know if I will ever watch this movie again, but I am a big, yeah, maybe it's like a show it at a party thing when people, like, maybe like a party you've done too many mushrooms, you're coming down, you're like, you want to see something crazy?
So Marcus sits in the bathtub again, eats a bunch of aspirin. I'm not sure what the pills were. He says he has a headache, which again, like his ongoing health things. He's like, the headache's really bad. He eats a bunch of pills. We see him watching a striptease in his undies again. He's eating Slim Jims again. I have fourth lady or something, third lady, because they don't have names.
No, they do at the end.
This fourth lady, George, she was actually Miss December, 1989.
What?
Yes.
There are so many opportunities for you to make Playboy jokes in this. I shuddered in anticipation. Like, he's just going to make so much stuff.
Holding myself back. Tim. But her name was Poppy Carnation.
A lot of flowers there.
Yep. Her turn-ons were dancing on TV. Her turn-offs were dancing on the radio. Her biggest regret.
Yeah, that's pointless.
Dancing on a radio that was very icy, and she fell off and broke her wrist. That's it.
Man. That's rough. Miss December, you got to be used to the cold weather. You should be used to that.
She should be. He gets another flyer about Jesus, and that says oral sex is a sin. I read one of them. I was reading through them because I thought Marcus was like,
they never quite put them up long enough to read them, which was driving me a little crazy.
I freeze-framed.
I guess, yeah, but like this wasn't designed to be a freeze-frame movie. I bet there was other parts you freeze-framed.
Yes.
This is when I stopped and wrote, I said, pretty sure the filmmaker made this movie as an excuse to film lots of nude women. It would just...
But I have something important about his, the flyer.
Uh-huh.
I think it said something about masturbation, because do you remember Marcus saying, I remember when I used to cry after I masturbated.
Well, I have the actual line. Can I read it?
Okay, yeah, read that.
Because he's wondering if it's the neighbor, because it's right after he's been watching a dirty movie whenever a thing gets shoved under his door. So he goes, I hope it's not the guy upstairs who leaves these for me. Then he hears the crying noise or something, or whatever the sex
sound right before the toilet flush.
And he goes, I wonder if he's been yanking on his dick. Right. I used to cry after sometimes. Or was it before? Bleak.
And George, right here in the middle. Double whammy. Just get out of the way.
Double whammy. 2 lists at once. Oh my God. It's gone to his head, folks.
It's not a list. Marcus talks about remembering how he used to cry after masturbating. So I just have other things Marcus
you can tell us how you used to cry?
No, okay. Marcus. 3 other times Marcus used to cry. Okay. He used to cry after masturbation, right? Well, he used to also cry after his grandfather's funeral. And then he cried after his grandmother's funeral. And then he cried after masturbating at his grandfather and grandmother's funeral. Funeral.
It's weird because the grandmother's funeral does come up in the movie shortly.
Yes.
So
that's it. That's done. We're done.
That was definitely a list. How dare you claim that? Oh, okay. So then we see him calling Omaha Cable to make sure that no one knows he's been watching Cable X.
That's right. He has all these questions.
And he decides he's going to watch The Door all night to see these flyers, but he falls asleep. Then, in the most perplexing cut in the entire movie, suddenly we abruptly cut to a hamster crawling around and rad guitars playing. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh, yeah.
And there's a woman on a couch, and the phone rings, and it's
Marcus.
him.
Marcus.
He's calling her, and he's like,
don't confuse people,
we don't
George.
know who this woman is.
All the people in this film.
I can actually use pronouns recklessly this one because there's one character.
Marcus calls
So
her.
Marcus asked this woman who we've never seen before. He goes, you want to go out sometime? There's maybe I could take you to lunch. There's a Sinclair's gas station near you with sandwiches that start from $1.49. Tim, start the music.
Oh, George's curtain.
George's curtain. Tim, what did $1.49 sandwich? What would that retail for today?
93?
For 1991, actually.
91? I always do comic books. Comic books in 91, they were like $5 by that point. So I'd say $10 today.
No, Tim, it was $3. $1.49 is worth $3.43 now.
Nice.
And she's like, no, don't ever call me again. And he goes, I wonder if she's still mad at me because I asked her to be my date at my grandmother's funeral.
That's right. No, it was the masturbating. That's what did it. And then she points a gun at her gerbil before it cuts away. That's when I was like, what is going on? You didn't see that?
Really?
Yes,
No, I was
she pointed a gun. She turns up later with a gun. But she points the gun at the gerbil.
That's not the same one with the gun.
I think so. That's why I thought it was her.
No, it's definitely not. Because this woman has black hair. That woman has brown hair.
I think she was in disguise, George.
Maybe.
I didn't look at their faces. Come on. What?
Well, neither one of these women appears naked, so you have no excuse not to look. They're the only two women who don't. Then he is looking at a description of serial killers. And he cuts it out to his fridge and goes, uh-oh, some of these sound familiar.
Yes.
And this was annoying to me because, this is a chance to do a joke. And, unless you freeze, we don't see it. So, Tim, know what I did?
You wrote what the list was?
I freeze framed it and transcribed it. And it's actually really funny. So, this was the qualities of a serial killer, all right, that were in this movie. 1, superficial charm.
Uh-huh.
2, childhood trauma, which may express itself in creating a podcast about the traumas of high school. 3, rapid personality shifts, which may express in the podcast suddenly switching from being about the trauma of high school to being revenge sequels to movies that never had them. 4, being obsessed with revenge.
What?
Narcissism, such as may express itself as when you create ads to promote said podcast, you only feature clips that you yourself appeared in. 6, animal cruelty, such as catching and releasing mice and bringing them to the park and letting them go and then letting your dog chase them. Yep. 7, fascination with true crime incidents, like, I don't know, say the assassination of John F. Kennedy in the Zapruder film.
Got it.
Number 8, obsessions with making lists. 9, a predilection for wearing sandals. And 10, the number 10 quality of a serial killer, refrigerator filled with severed body parts.
Well, I don't know who that describes.
So after he posts, I didn't understand this line. After he posts this thing, he just says aloud, I hope I don't drive my vehicle to the front of a cafeteria. What? Yeah, what? Why?
Because they're so expensive, probably.
I think it's just him fascinating, like fantasizing about murdering a bunch of people. Yeah. And we see another striptease. At this point, nudity has no meaning anymore. I'm like, wow. It's what's going on? And because it's 90, what was interesting, it's 91, right? The 80s is barely over. I would posit in Nebraska, it's not over yet. Because these are some 80s looking ladies.
They are.
80s ladies.
The one lady had a tattoo on her butt. You see it? Or was that paint? A lip?
I thought that was actually a birthmark. I know what you're talking about.
Lips. It was a kiss mark.
Was it a kiss mark?
Yeah. Yep. Is that what you call them?
Tim.
Kiss mark?
Tim, did you put the kiss mark on her butt?
Yeah, I drew it on the computer screen.
You're like, ooh boy. You put tracing paper over. You're like, this is hotter than She-Hulk. Then his dad appears again on the TV and says, God, you're fat. Look at you. I don't think that's normal fat. You must have cancer or something.
He's like, come on, Dad. Don't say that.
Don't say that. I don't kiss her. And we see him standing in the shower again, looking at the mirror. And he goes, I guess it's a good thing fat guys don't get laid. It's hard enough to get an erection alone.
I know. That's when I got my first hint that,
I'm like, oh, wait. Yeah, then he writes on the paper, I will not yank on my dick again until I have a real woman, this I vow.
Then he draws some pubic hairs.
And he goes, damn, out of paper and get pens again.
Now he goes to the park and we get the name of the movie. Yep. Did you notice that? Did you get that? Because they don't say it.
No.
He's at the park peeking, and he's staring at women, but he's reading.
Just leering.
I'm not making. Okay. My joke is he's reading Hitler Monthly, but he's reading a book with a picture of Hitler with his girlfriend Eva or his wife, and that's when he's like, ah, and you're like, oh yeah, even Hitler has a girlfriend. That's the name of the movie. He doesn't say it. He just goes, oh. And then he looks up. This is
what we should talk about your Hitler sense.
My Hitler sense.
Whenever Hitler appears in any movie, no matter how minutely, even if he's just a little picture in a book in a medium to far shot of a character, Tim will immediately notice it.
It was a big part of this movie, George.
It was not. I did not notice at all. But like he stares at the woman, he imagines he's the boyfriend, he imagines he's there just lifting up her skirt, and she's like, that creep is looking at us, and they leave, and he goes, oh, wonder what spooked him. Then he goes to an adult video store.
Oh, that's right. That was another man in the movie. I thought it was just him and that Fabio guy, but that was actually another man.
You're right. And did you notice that guy actually got in the credits? They actually said his name because there's so few characters in the movie. That guy got they actually showed him sitting there. And his name, he had some Italian name. I forget what it was.
No links, people. Nobody has links.
Nobody has links. Even the main guy who I said was pretty good and sadly died. Like there's no blue links on this. There's a lot written about this on Wikipedia though.
Yeah. So
he goes to an adult video store. Yeah. They have those things that I've seen in that Madonna video where you put quarters and it goes up.
Yeah, I saw them in the video too, George.
Going really fast. Oh, what video did you see then?
No, I saw them in the video. Brothers? Is that what those were? Yeah, the Marx Brothers.
Oh, you're being innocent. Tim's innocent, guys.
You're tracking me to the Marx Brothers.
It was really quick. Is that the joke? It's just we're looking at his face as he's watching these, and he's constantly feeding quarters in. I'm like, is that the way they worked?
Oh, I don't know. I
would explain this concept to younger listeners because I guess there was video stores, adult video stores, where there would be booths, and there would be dirty movies playing on screens, and you would go into these booths and put quarters in the booths, and a screen or a curtain or something would open. Mm-hmm. And I guess you would just go in there and jerk off real quick.
Yep. That was the old days.
Because there was no internet back then. I'm everything about that is bleak and horrendous and horrifying.
Something funny. I went to school in Pittsburgh City, and the last day when we handed in our portfolios, I don't know if you remember that day when you do that, but for those out there listening, that's your final exam is you get your portfolio all done, you hand it in, and you leave, you're done. And we went to a bar, got a drink, and then we all went down the street to that adult store as a joke. We're oh, we're going to go in here. And I was just oh.
What year was this, Tim?
87.
Okay.
And we're just
this movie's 91. It would have been there, yeah.
We were just look at all these businessmen. They're just going in the booths. I mean, that's who was there, who was spending their money. Oh, of course. Who do you think? I mean, there was probably some odd-looking people, but I remember watching the businessmen in their suits and ties coming in for lunch break or whatever. We were just laughing at everything. I think they kicked us out. They're you're not going to buy anything.
I've only ever seen it reconstructed in I said, the Madonna movie and stuff so inside, what did it look like?
Well, we didn't go into a booth to put a quarter in.
You didn't even see
I think some places had a live woman and you pay to make the
That's what the Madonna video had.
Yeah, I think some had that.
The lady was Madonna.
You could watch
this. Madonna naked.
Almost.
I'm going to watch that video after this, let me tell you.
We watched that a lot.
Yeah, Madonna.
That and Back to the Future. That was a constant play in college. Just watched one and the other.
Sad.
Sometimes Empire Strikes Back.
Sometimes.
So
all right, so there's that scene. Then he's reading an ad. He's about a corset, and he's the corset shows a person really thin. He's that won't make my chin go away. No. Then he goes on about his chin, and then he straight up says, I bet I can achieve an erection if I had a real girl in front of me.
Yes.
I just need to find one. I wish there was a number I could just... And he's like, oh.
Was it on the TV or on the paper? I forget.
I don't remember, honestly. I think he like is looking in a magazine, and there's like at the back is like so back in the day, people, there used to be periodicals. I remember the Village Voice was particularly famous for this in New York. You would get this free weekly paper, and the entire back of the newspaper, like the last half of it, was just the ads, then classified, and most of them were I guess they were.
Some are odd, like threesome, open to threesome. Call me.
It was like escort services and stuff.
Well, that too. But I remember some ads where people are like into threesomes.
Like people. There were people like there were people who were like supposedly real people, at least looking for partners and stuff. That was a dodgy thing.
Yes, I know.
But like there was always like the back cover. I remember it'd always be like it'd be like, wow, huge tits or something, like just like you would call these things. So he like starts calling escort services.
Yep.
Tim, this is gonna be the mother of all current currency.
Oh, I was so worried. You
should be.
First, before I want to say he's the cheapest guy. For every price, like if the lady said $10 for a hand job, he'd be like, oh, maybe $9. Just every price was he was like that for everything.
Yeah. And we do know from the opening scene that this guy blows through his life savings in a week or 2 weeks, he says.
He won't give any woman the money she wants. It's always like...
Here's the thing, though, Tim. Some of these... Okay, so he calls the first one, and a woman answers. And all this stuff, I will say, again, these are good performances. They're mostly just voices on the phone, but they sound like real people.
Yep.
I'm like, they got good actors here. First woman's like, yeah, it's $150 an hour. Like Tim says, he's like, do you do half hours? She's like, I'm not leaving my house for less than that.
Yeah.
Tim, and he's like, well, for $150, she better look like Marilyn Monroe.
Yes.
But Tim, what do you think $150 an hour in 91 costs now?
What was it?
$150 an hour.
Oh, $150
in 91.
That is $300.
That's a lot.
Yeah, $300 an hour.
$345.
Getting better.
That's a lot.
Getting better at math.
He calls the second number. This one offers 2 girls at once for $325 an hour. Which were you playing the music? We should play music.
Play it here.
George's courage. All right. So $325 an hour. I'm not going to ask you each time because this could be annoying. That's $748.52 an hour for 2 girls to show up. He calls a third third service, $175 an hour, just $403.05. He calls a fourth, I lost track, $1,700 for a full night.
Yeah.
He says something I can't understand, but sure sounds like he says you should be able to do some boweling for that kind of money.
No, you should be able to disembowel her for that amount of money.
Is that what he said?
That's what I wrote down too.
That's fucked up.
Yes.
He is a serial killer. Tim, $1,700 back then is the equivalent of $3,915. So this is a lot of money.
It is.
And you know what? Sex work they're worth every cent. But you're saying this guy's a jerk. The last one he gets her to do a half hour. She says $100. He haggles her down to $75, which is $172.74. He goes literally, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy,
oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
A couple times. He decides to get dressed because he doesn't want to scare her. And he's like, I hope she looks good. I also hope I don't catch anything.
He says, I hope she has rubbers because I don't know. She doesn't expect me to have them.
Yep. And like that's not a weird Tim joke, but that's literally a line. He also decides he's going to film her because he's a gross creep.
No, tape and he goes, on sound. First he has a sound recorder.
You're right. It's sound. I didn't realize that until I'm like,
you forgot they existed, didn't you?
I kind of did. And he's like, she'll never see all this mess because we didn't mention he lives in squalor. So he makes an audio recording. And so we hear.
This was actually nice because he says, I'm going to record her. And she comes in and we don't see it. They just cut to him the next day listening to the sounds.
And I thought that was a really good narrative choice. Yeah. And like, again, the acting, we don't even see this actor, the female.
No.
Maybe she does another part, but like, it's all really well. And it sounds like it's like, and I wrote down one line from this because I'm an immature child of him saying, sorry, my dick isn't very hard.
He says that lots of times.
Yeah.
But so then he starts hiring women if we want to move through it. And he actually finds videotape machine eventually. And he's like, ooh.
Yeah, he as I wrote, he buys a video camera, full creep achieved. But he doesn't even start.
That's a serial killer.
He doesn't actually film them his conquest right away, which you think is what he's doing it for. First, Tim, you forgot this part we just mentioned.
Okay.
He goes, oh, and there's a close-up of his balls. And tell you why, he starts scratching him, and he gets crabs.
Oh, that's right. He's got crabs.
And he reads aloud what crabs are.
He has a book about crabs. Why did he have that?
Yeah. He went to the library. They actually show that.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, he goes to the library a couple times. There's another scene he goes to the library and reads about something.
Can I have a book about crabs?
Crabs. Crab lice.
No, not the crabs you eat.
No, not those crabs. No, these ones. He pulls his pants down. So he does take his video camera instead of filming his conquest, which would not be okay. He films those fucking neighbors.
That's right, the same neighbors. He sneaks up to their window.
Yep. But I actually am not sure if that really happened because it weirdly. So same thing. He's filming them.
He runs out, chases them.
I guess they're fucking. I don't know what they're doing, Tim. There was so much doing. I forgot. The guy chases him out, and then the next scene. I think there was an ad, so there was a little disconnect. Like it's him in his underwear, locked out of his apartment, and then he wakes up in the tub. I'm like, did he imagine the whole thing?
He imagines part of that because I have written here.
I don't know.
Marcus is in the tub for the 7th time. This is what he says. I should call my friend Dave. He's my best friend. And he goes, no, I guess not. He's not my best friend.
I'm not that close to Dave. You understand it. In fact, I think he hates me. I'm like, what is the point of this? That's when he starts calling sex lines. Tim, will you explain sex lines to our listeners? Wow. I think we need to.
Really? Yeah, we used to call. We used to.
Oh,
yeah, George and I would get together. We'd call up. Call 1-800-SEX.
Call me now. 800-755.
You talk to live women, and they'll just talk sexy talk, like whatever sexy talk is for you. George.
In this movie, it's just them asking, what do you do for a job? He's like, I'm a night watchman. That sounds exciting. It's not. He does it 5 times.
Usually they would say, well, I'm getting undressed. And, they say things like that.
Honest question and no shame. Did you actually ever call it?
No. It looks too expensive, George. Never.
Well, let's talk. This is the last currency kerner. George's currency kerner.
I don't know how much it costs him. How much?
He pays $2 a minute.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so would you want to guess what that is nowadays?
That's $8 a minute.
No, wow, that's a big jump. No, $4.61. Still very expensive for a minute, yeah.
I'm good at math.
Yep. I wrote down here, I think I'm going to stop taking notes for a bit. So, Tim.
Well, he self-hypnotizes himself and films himself. I don't know what that was about.
He tells that really disturbing story about a mouse.
He catches a mouse and drowns it. So I'm like, yes, you are a serial killer. You're on your way.
Yeah, now that I think about it.
Thinking about killing animals.
Were they setting this up as like he's going to be a serial killer? Like
I have no idea. My revenge sequel may explain some.
Ooh. Yeah, it's like he's telling about the time he put traps out for a mouse and one mouse got caught by the tail. So he took pliers and held it underwater until it struggled. And it's this whole thing. I'm like, why is this in this weird naked lady movie?
Yep. And then he's at the playground on the swings. Oh, and he gets on the merry-go-round that you push yourself. What are they called? Is that a merry-go-round?
He's trying to like feel alive again. Yeah, so he's playing on the swings. He's like, hey, this is making me feel something again. He goes, I should do this all the time. And he's on the merry-go-round.
Yes.
He fucking pukes.
Then he gets his corset. It won't fit him.
Well, that was sad. Yeah, he decided to wear the corset. It arrives there. He tries to put it on. I think he almost cries.
Yeah.
He throws it down. He's listening to more tapes of him like having sex with women. And like, in case you're wondering, you don't hear anything. It's just him being like, well, so she sit over here? Yeah. You want to touch my boobs? Okay. It's just stuff like that.
And then he tapes a woman washing her dishes from a window. You remember that?
Yeah.
part?
I couldn't decide if that really happened or not.
I'm not sure if that happened. Yeah. He's always like, is it okay if I touch your boobs?
Yep.
Is it okay if I take my socks off? It's just...
No, keep the socks on. That's Tim's real foreplay.
So he does
takes
hide the camera.
His hat.
His hat, his guard hat.
His guard hat.
Can I talk about this next woman that comes? Because you saw what she found. She comes in his room and she's like, Playboy, what are you, 14 years old? Did you see that?
Yeah, and she makes the comment about like, what are you 14? She's it's another sex worker he brings to his house, and she's very scornful of his. But I don't remember how that scene happens though. At this point, it was a blur.
I just wanted to point out that was June 1991, and the centerfold of that Playboy was Felicity Grindstone.
Wow, weird last name.
Her bad habits: reading a book halfway and then giving up on it. Bad
habits? Is that? Okay.
There's all sorts of questions on these, George. I've looked through them. Through them so much. Her bad habits: reading a book halfway and then giving up on it. Her favorite book is the novelization of Star Wars: A New Hope, the original Star Wars. It's an inspiring story about never giving up hope, even though you got crushed in a trash compactor. That's what she thinks that movie. And why could she never be president, George? She doesn't know how to blow up a Death Star. There's my list.
So presidents need to blow up the Death Star?
Yeah, come on.
Okay. So then he picks up... I couldn't decide, though.
I picked up a girl. And
does he actually film the woman, or is he thinking about it?
That I'm not sure. But it's just another... Isn't he just like, well, how about $9 for a hand job? And she's like, no, it's $11.
Yeah. I wrote down some of the prices. I didn't like... It was $70 for... a blowjob with $20 to come in the mouth, a hand up. I didn't want to. We're not doing, folks.
Come on, George. I want to. No, I wrote them all down.
Tim, you want to get to $70? That's $8 million. Can you believe it? You want to know what a hand job for $50 worth now? 6 nickels. That's been your last current currency currenter.
He does go to Mount Rushmore for vacation. They show that.
I did not catch that.
They show the president's heads. Yeah.
Is that when he's just driving and stops and his pukes for some reason?
He pukes. Yep, he gets out of the car.
What was that about?
Because he didn't like how they carved the presidents, and it ruined the natural beauty of the Dakota's land. Made him sick.
I would agree with that. Okay. Yep. Yeah. He also he mistakenly got behind and he saw their naked butts. Yeah. He was behind Mount Rushmore and he was like, "Oh no!" And Thomas Jefferson had long dangly balls.
It's true, people. If you go there,
very true.
Oh, there is something funny in the car scene. She says, "You have to wear a condom." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, AIDS." You remember that?
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, yeah, AIDS."
She also says he looks like a cop, and I'm like, she's not wrong.
Nope.
This guy definitely looks like a cop.
And a serial killer.
I wrote down AIDS.
Then we see Marcus.
Well, as we know, Tim, a lot of serial killers are cops. Yep. A lot of cops are probably serial killers. Yep. Controversial statements on Seddy Bimco.
A few. I don't know if I can say a lot, in all honesty.
No, I think all of them are.
Different things.
No, I think every cop.
We have a big cop audience.
That's a logic problem. Yeah. Cops love our show. Cops are like, I'm a no-nonsense guy who spends days keeping law and order, cracking skulls, serial killing. I'm going to listen to what those delightful scamps and Seddy Bimco have to offer. That sounds like a cop.
Looking for clues as to where we live.
Yep. They're like, where in Brooklyn live so I could club their heads together. He calls his first date again. The woman that he had gone on the date with in the beginning, we see her playing a piano. He is lying naked on his belly. I'm like,
on the couch.
Buddy, why are we seeing?
I think that's couch,
why are we seeing this?
Sex.
That he does look like J.D. Vance
a little bit. Oh my God!
And then my favorite part. Can I say this part? My favorite part of the whole movie.
I know what it is. Yeah.
Like we see a close up as it's a newspaper about the Pee Wee Herman sex scandal. It's a picture of actual Pee Wee Herman saying Pee Wee Herman. Like if you all know what happened, Pee Wee Herman was in an adult theater, and he was masturbating because what else you do in an adult theater?
Yes.
And we decided as a people to give him a hard time for this and ruin his career for many years.
Yes.
And then we see his neighbors laying there naked on their bellies, reading this in the paper. And then we cut to him in his house, and he's crying. And he's holding a little Pee Wee Herman action figure, and he throws it out the window. And I just loved it. I'm like, that has nothing to do with the narrative of this movie. Nothing. That was like, as they were filming this, that clearly broke. And they were like, let's do this scene.
Because why would he idolize Pee Wee? Because he doesn't have a girlfriend. He's actually one person. He's like, well, he doesn't have a girlfriend. So that makes no sense.
The thing about Pee Wee is there's Dottie.
Yeah, but He's a rebel daddy. He's a rebel daddy.
Yeah, and then if you've seen Pee Wee's Big Top Pee Wee, I
never did see it.
Like, oh my God, Tim, I'm not even kidding. Pee Wee Herman has sex in that movie.
Is he naked? They have
you don't see it. It's like.
Well, how do you know?
It's
that?
like because like he got like I think her name is Victoria Golino is the actor. Like they go into a room. It's like I remember it being like a shocking thing. They're like, who is this movie for?
But why does Marcus like Pee-wee, George? You want to know?
It's a list. It's a list.
Doing it to you again. Sorry.
Oh, I thought there was only two.
Maybe I'll cut this out.
Maybe you should.
How are they alike? They both have relationships with their furniture. No.
You're right. Jerry and his couch. Nice.
All right. They both giggle when they read the definition of penis in the dictionary.
It's probably true.
And they both tell women that they're a lone wolf and a rebel, Daddy.
And they also remember the Alamo.
They do.
He's in a park eating bologna, and his dad berates him for eating bologna, saying that's all fat. And of course, that's another comparison with if you watch Pee-wee's Playhouse, there was the character Billy Bologna. Remember the puppet?
Oh my God, I don't remember, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, Pee-wee didn't eat Billy Bologna though. Then this weird current events montage happens.
That's right.
And he pisses himself.
Yes, his dad shows up as a ghost and makes fun of him.
And I'm like, what are we introducing? He's pissing himself now too? Like, I think there is a theme in this movie, like where he's dying, right? He's puking for no reason at this point. He's got the heart thing. He's peeing himself now.
Because now
he's always got the headaches.
He sees an ad for Reduso cream and buys it because he wants to get rid of his fat.
And you need to explain what Reduso cream is, Tim.
You put it all over your body and you lose your weight. Dogs come and lick it off. That's what it is,
he's
right?
He says it melts fat away. He's like, it's got to be a scam. But he ends up buying it, and it says safe as any garden vegetable. I was going to make a list of unsafe garden vegetables, but I ran out of time. So insert your own list there, people.
He puts that on, and it doesn't work.
Of course.
In fact, doesn't he just put it on? He looks at it, and then he goes, oh, this doesn't work.
He already knew. It's like when he first sees the ad, because he's seen the ad for before, he goes, this isn't going to work. Then he guesses, he's like, this isn't going to work. Then he puts it on his belly. He's like, this isn't working. It's just like.
He says, this is stupid.
Because at this point, he's like, I think it's here. He's like, well, I get paid in 3 days. And as soon as I do, I'm going to call a call girl. And goes like, I don't want to spend. I'm hungry, but I don't want to spend money that I could be spending on call girls. So he eats gas station sandwiches.
Then he goes out
up everywhere. He wants to remove his heart from his chest to massage it. He's pissing himself.
Then he gets a date with a friend of his aunt or something.
Oh my God! You know what's funny
date.
in that scene? I'm pretty sure it starts out. It's the friend of his aunt. And like her mother and his aunt are friends, and it switches halfway through the scene where it's his mother and her aunt. But like, what a painful scene.
Yeah, because of course she's like, I don't believe in having sex before marriage, and
so you're not going to have sex? She's like, nope. It's like, do you want to show me your boobs? She's like, no, I don't. Do you want to go home? Yes, I do.
Could you draw a picture of your boobs for me?
Are your nipples innies or outies?
Wow.
Call me now. 800-755.
This is the last girl because she comes in and she notices the camera. We see.
Yeah, he has set up a camera, so he is at this point really filming people. Because the first few times it happens, you're not sure. There's a whole hypothetical scene. It's like, I could ask her if she wants me to. Maybe she'll like being filmed, or maybe she won't. You're not really sure if he does it or not. Yes. Oh no, he does. He does it sneakily in the closet. So he goes to use the bathroom, and she's sitting there, and we see her look at the camera. She's like, oh. And then he comes out, and he's got his hands out like a fucking zombie. He's like, Can I feel your boobs?
Your boobs.
And she pulls out a fucking gun. Is it the same gun that the lady fired at the hamster?
That's why I thought it was her, but I don't know.
No, because that lady was a lady he'd went on a date with and took to his grandmother's funeral. This was a call girl he didn't know before.
Ah, yeah. Well,
so she points the gun at him, and she says, die, you pervert, and she shoots him
in the head,
nicks his skull. So he's bleeding from his head, and he's clearly mortally wounded, but is like brain damaged. So he's going like, and
she takes his camera and his hat.
Yep. Oh, that's why she put. I didn't catch she caught his.
Doesn't he crawl into bed and put the weight loss cream on himself? I have that written here. Did that happen?
He's laying there dying slowly from like a head wound, and as he's dying, he takes the Reducer cream and rubs it on his belly, and then he dies. And then the last scene is we see her in the car with his video camera and his hat. I didn't realize it was his hat, and she's got the gun. And she's like,
"Yeah, that's it."
Toodaloo, and she drives off, and I'm like, "What?"
And we'll say there's a sequel filmed in Colorado called The Hitler Tapes.
Yep.
So it's a real sequel out there, folks.
Real sequel.
Ooh. Well, to move along, people.
Right.
People wait for this. In this podcast, I like to tell
nobody waits for this.
How these movies are like Star Wars or stole from Star Wars or inspired Star Wars. This movie took place after Star Wars. I didn't do the years because this movie exists in another time and dimension altogether. But how is this movie like Star Wars? You want to know, George?
I don't, but you're going to tell me anyway.
The sex workers at Mos Eisley also refused to give hand jobs for less than 25 space credits.
Space credits?
You know that guy who had his arm cut off by Obi-Wan?
Dr. Evazan, or was it Ponda Boba?
In the first movie. Well,
I know. I'm being a nerd.
He lived. And the very next week, he had his other hand cut off by another angry patron. Thus, he was always asking around for discount hand jobs, just like Marcus. That's all. Anyway, that's why. That is the similarities.
People, and I like to always compare the movies to what they have in common with 1987 fantasy masterpiece directed by Jim Henson, Labyrinth.
Yes, nothing to do with Star Wars.
Anyone who's ever seen anything about Labyrinth knows that you have a lot of prominent close-ups of Dave Bowie's bulge in his role as Jareth the Goblin King. Like if you ever wonder, like, I wonder what Dave Bowie's penis looks like, you have a pretty good idea after watching Labyrinth.
Okay.
Just like how in this movie, when Marcus gets crabs and we have a close-up of him scratching his genitals through his tidy whities, we have a pretty good idea what his penis looks like. So they both have highlighted through thin sheens of fabric men's genitalia filling the screen. There, that's what they have in common.
That's great.
Yep.
That is great. Also similar to Star Wars with those stormtroopers.
No, you don't get to do two. No, take it up. Take it up.
No, I'm joining you.
Nope. Oh.
Never mind.
Yeah, you're joking.
Wherever you're hiding.
All right.
Fine.
Revenge. One of us will die. One of us will die.
I will want me to tell my short revenge story?
No, I'm going to do mine. Usually 400 words. No, I'm going to do mine. Mine's less than 400 words.
Okay. Better be.
As you heard,
1, 2, 3.
Tim, there was a sequel to this movie.
Yes.
I'm going to share a little bit of sadness because they were filming the sequel. They did about 40 minutes of it when the actor who plays Marcus was killed in that robbery. So the apparent movie that exists, Hitler Tapes, is very weird. But this is, I didn't even write a story. I thought it was so interesting what the movie was going to be. Okay. That I'm just going to read. This is from what's his name? Carey?
James Carey? No,
not James Carey. The guy who did this movie, Ronnie Kramer.
Ronnie Kramer. Right. Tim Curry.
We really went far. Okay, this is me cheesing out, but I thought this was interesting enough to share.
Well, what if we want to watch it? You're going to ruin the whole movie?
No, this doesn't exist because this movie never got made because he got killed. There's elements of this in the actual real movie, but they didn't get to do it.
Okay.
The sequel, I was going to make it a mad scientist brain movie kind of thing, he says. In the script, there's this woman scientist who takes the character's brain out, meaning Marcus, and brings it to this really crummy laboratory. She puts electrodes into his brain that are hooked up to this viewing screen and keeps it in a sink. Marcus's brain can't see anything, but it can sense and it can talk. At one point, it asks the scientist, "Am I in a sink?" And she says, "We prefer to call it a regeneration chamber." Now, the most absurd part of the story is that the scientist is trying to fuse Marcus's brain with a part of Hitler's brain and use it to take over the world. See, she thought she couldn't control Hitler's brain, but she could control the other brain, Marcus's brain. But the problem was she'd tell the brain, picture armies or whatever, and all the brain would be thinking about was naked women.
I think you're making this up.
No, I am not. This is off of an interview I found, and I forgot what magazine it was. I'll write to me. I'll write back. We'll do it. If somebody writes a letter asking, I will supply the information. This is an actual description of what the Hitler Diaries was going to be. And it's interesting because there was that weird movie he's watching about the brain in the jar. So it was going to be this whole like weird loop.
Interesting.
And I know I didn't really write a revenge sequel, but upon reading that, I'm like, I need to share this. And like, I was even thinking of making my own version. Like, I want people to hear this word so they know that this was really what this was going to be. All right, now, Tim, you're going to do your revenge sequel. 400 words, folks. Count it home.
Well, as I said, dear listener, this world Marcus lived in seemed to be almost surreal. It only contained the women he met, that long-haired Fabio guy peeked at. You know, he only was guarding his car at the parking lot. He didn't know why he was doing that. Never met his employer. So, I think this whole movie is just like a story that you may have read called Occurrence at Owl Creek, the short story by Ambrose Bierce. It's about a man who escapes hanging, and he runs around the fields, gets through the river and everything, and only realizes at the end his whole escape was just a story in his head in the last few seconds of his life. So read that story. I've spoiled it for you, but check that story out. So you see
also
Marcus.
made into one of the last episodes of Twilight Zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We had to read
it was
that in school.
actually a short film they filmed in France, and Twilight Zone bought it and made it into one of their episodes.
Cheap.
Hey, but America's got to see some French film. They snuck it in.
Yeah,
snuck
take
it
that.
In.
I know what they have in French films a lot of times is
take
naked
that, America.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, this
take
one
that,
had it. When he was escaping from being hung, he was like, kept getting accosted by topless ladies.
Did he?
All right. Let's get to my story.
Are they tickling him?
Yes. So I think this is what happened to Marcus. See, Marcus was wondering in this movie if he was a serial killer or if he was insane. This movie was all just in his head the last few seconds of his life. You see, his father knew from a young age Marcus was odd. And as he got older, he discovered he was a peeping Tom. And worse yet, when he moved out, he knew he was possibly a serial killer. And when his father saw that newscast we saw about women being found, bodies being found in his area, his father knew his son started to kill people. So he had to take care of it. It was his responsibility. So one night, he snuck into his son's house, Marcus, as Marcus was in the bathtub like he was every night. And he planned to... he planned to grab the toaster, plug it in, and toss it into the tub. But
Classic.
Yeah. But Marcus was such a loser, he had taken his toaster apart to see if he could put his penis in and fix his erectile dysfunction. So...
Oh, wow. Yeah, maybe like a good stiff burn will keep it stiff.
So Marcus's dad, he looks to get a hairdryer to plug in and toss in the tub, but Marcus has one of these. Marcus has one of these to use to make toast with because his toaster doesn't work, and he had taken it apart to see if he could put his penis in and fix his erectile dysfunction too.
There's no fucking way this is like 400 words.
It is. You've been talking to me. So his dad looks for maybe a space heater he could plug in and toss into the tub. But Marcus has taken it apart and uses it to make toast. So finally,
Marcus really eats a lot of toast. We only see his Slim Jim eating, but like toast.
So finally, Marcus's dad finds a plug-in fleshlight. He sneaks into the bathroom.
I'm like, of course he's gonna do fleshlights.
Plugs it in.
Tim is obsessed with fleshlights.
He tosses it in the tub and runs away. But nothing happens. Marcus picks it up and says, "Gee, that's stupid. How did this get here?" And he gets out of the tub and he sees that it wasn't plugged in correctly. So he makes sure it's plugged in correctly all the way. He gets back into the tub, and ironically, nothing happens. It's a broken fleshlight. But as he's getting out, he slips on his Reduso cream in the tub and falls and hits his head right on the faucet and dies as the movie we just saw flashes in front of his head.
Wow.
This is called...
How much of the movie was real? Like, how much of Marcus's loserness was real?
That's my idea. That's why I think this film is art, and you can decide for yourself. That's what I decided. He died. Those are his last thoughts as he died. Because he was a serial killer.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
This was called Even Hitler Got Erections.
Even Hitler. That's the sequel.
That's the sequel I wrote.
Yeah, because you have to get that word in there.
We're done.
All right.
We went on so long.
Yeah, we had to for this movie.
Okay.
So question. Do we have any mail?
Question. I will check the mail. I will refresh it. There is none.
So I guess I should choose my movie next week?
Yeah, George. Hey, what are we going to watch next week?
Well, Tim, we're going to Oklahoma.
Ooh.
For
the musical? Musical?
No.
Or Wolverine sings, "Oh, Judd is dead. Oh, Judd is dead."
Nope. Looking forward to jokes about this musical I've never seen, though.
Oh, I'm going to have a lot.
We're going to watch 1989's written by Weird Al Yankovic, UHF.
Oh, isn't that good?
I don't know. I mean,
You don't know. Okay.
I've seen it a few times. I remember it being very funny. I've not seen it in like 20 years. I still think it's okay to do a movie that's like fun and good, and maybe we'll like have people watch it though.
So
that's fine.
You got to stick to our niche. All right. That's it. That's it. So many things,
everybody.
So many things left out.
Be
everybody.
good to your mothers.
Send us an email at seddybimco with an E at gmail.com. Join us on Blue Sky and Reddit and all the new places I am. Mastodon.
You're on Reddit?
Yeah.
Really? What's it on Reddit?
I'm not looking at it. It's like T. Seddy Hamilton. I joined Reddit not knowing.
But it's not Seddy Bimco.
Yeah, I think I may have to make a separate group for that. I'm learning how Reddit works, people. I joined the Jindo group, and we're all showing each other our cute Jindo dogs.
Oh, look at that. Oh, here's one in Spanish. Do you do this?
Nope.
Esta semana en Seddy Bimco parte 2, Le Veganza.
We have fans in
Visitamos
Spain.
Minnesota y vamos en vistazo
Minnesota.
a la película El Abrazo del Vampiro. So that's the new one. Somebody did that in Spanish.
Nice.
Yeah.
We got fans in Spain. I see who listens.
We have no fans.
Stay safe, everybody. Join us next week for Weird Al Yankovic.
And UHF.
Bye. So long.
This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line, it's a party line.